Hey there, welcome to Memory Masters. I'm Richard, and 2 months ago, I was sitting in the DMV waiting room with sweaty palms and a racing heart. At 70 years old, I was facing my driver's license renewal test, and honestly, I was terrified. The thought of possibly losing my independence kept me up at night. What if my cognitive reflexes weren't what they used to be? What if I failed? But instead of barely passing, I aced it, with the examiner actually commenting on my exceptional awareness and response time. Today, I'm sharing exactly how I did it, using a method I developed that not only helped me pass that test with flying colors, but has genuinely improved my overall cognitive function. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might just be the difference between keeping and losing your driving privileges as you age. Let me take you back to about 6 months ago. I was driving my grandson to soccer practice, something I'd done dozens of times before. We were chatting about his game, the radio was playing softly, and I was feeling pretty relaxed. As I approached an intersection, the light turned yellow. I thought I had plenty of time to make it through, but my grandson suddenly tensed up beside me. "Grandpa, that was red," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and concern. I was genuinely shocked. In my mind, I'd crossed on yellow, but my grandson's reaction made me question my perception. When I glanced in my rearview mirror, I realized with a sinking feeling that he was right. I had run a red light, and worse, I hadn't even noticed. That night, I couldn't sleep. The incident kept replaying in my mind. It wasn't just about breaking a traffic rule. It was the fact that my awareness had slipped so dramatically without me realizing it. What else was I missing on the road? And with my license renewal test coming up in a few months, would I even be able to pass? That's when I decided I wasn't going to leave this to chance. I wasn't ready to give up driving. It represented too much of my independence. But I also wasn't willing to put myself or others at risk. There had to be a middle ground, a way to sharpen my cognitive function and become a safer driver again. Before jumping into solutions, I needed to understand exactly what was happening. Why were my driving skills declining? Was it inevitable with age? I spent weeks researching cognitive function and aging, particularly as it relates to driving skills. Here's what I discovered: while some cognitive decline is normal as we age, it's not as dramatic or inevitable as many people think. Our brains maintain something called neuroplasticity throughout our lives, the ability to form new neural connections and adapt. The key is giving your brain the right kind of exercise. When it comes to driving specifically, there are 4 cognitive functions that matter most. First, there's attention, your ability to focus on relevant information while filtering out distractions. This is crucial for monitoring traffic, road signs, and potential hazards. Second is processing speed, how quickly you can take in information and respond to it. This becomes especially important in emergency situations where split-second decisions matter. Third is working memory, your brain's ability to hold and manipulate information in the short term. When driving, you're constantly updating your mental map of where other vehicles are around you. And fourth is visual spatial processing, how well you judge distances and the relationships between objects. This affects everything from parking to changing lanes safely. The good news: all of these functions can be improved with the right kind of practice, regardless of age. I wasn't doomed to declining driving skills. I could actually get better. After my research, I developed what I call my three-pronged approach to improving driving-related cognitive skills. It's based on the understanding that driving isn't just one skill. It's a complex interaction of different cognitive functions working together. The first prong is focused cognitive exercises. These are specific brain training activities designed to target the exact mental skills needed for safe driving. The second prong is physical wellness. It turns out there's a strong connection between physical health and cognitive function that I had been overlooking. And the third prong is practical application, actually translating these improved skills to real-world driving situations. I committed to spending 30 minutes a day on this approach for 3 months before my test. It wasn't always easy to maintain discipline, especially on days when I was tired or busy. But I kept reminding myself of that moment with my grandson and how it made me feel. I wasn't just preparing for a test. I was fighting for my independence and ensuring I wouldn't put others at risk. Let me share the specific cognitive exercises that made the biggest difference for me. I tried dozens of different activities, but these 5 proved most effective for driving-related skills. The first exercise I call traffic scan. I'd sit in a busy cafe or park and practice actively scanning my environment, noting every detail I could about the people and objects around me. I'd challenge myself to notice new things. What's that person wearing? What color is that car? Is someone carrying a bag? This improved my visual attention and awareness dramatically. The second exercise focuses on divided attention. I'd listen to an audiobook while doing a crossword puzzle, forcing my brain to process 2 types of information simultaneously. This was tough at first. I'd either miss parts of the book or struggle with the puzzle. But over time, I got better at managing split attention, which is crucial when you're monitoring traffic while also watching for road signs. Third, I practiced rapid decision-making with a simple card game. I'd flip cards and make instant decisions based on their value. For instance, slap the table for face cards but not number cards. Then I'd add complications, like only slapping for red face cards. This improved my processing speed and ability to make quick judgments. Fourth, I worked on my visual spatial skills using online puzzles that involve mentally rotating objects or navigating mazes. This directly translated to better awareness of how my car relates to others on the road. Finally, I developed a memory challenge I call route recall. After driving somewhere, I tried to remember every turn I made and every major landmark I passed in order. Then I'd check my accuracy using a map. This strengthened both my attention while driving and my working memory. The improvement wasn't immediate. For the first few weeks, I actually felt more frustrated than accomplished. But gradually, I started noticing changes. I was picking up on details I would have missed before. My reactions felt sharper. And most importantly, I felt more confident behind the wheel. Now, let me tell you something that surprised me in my research. The health of your brain is intimately connected to the health of your body. I had always separated the two, thinking physical exercise was for my heart and muscles, while puzzles and reading were for my brain. It turns out that's not how it works at all. Regular physical activity increases blood flow to the brain and promotes the growth of new neural connections. It also reduces the risk of conditions that can impair cognitive function, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol. With this knowledge, I added 3 key elements to my routine. First, I committed to daily aerobic exercise, nothing extreme, just 30 minutes of brisk walking around my neighborhood. On rainy days, I'd use a stationary bike while watching the news. The key was consistency, not intensity. Second, I overhauled my diet to focus on foods that support brain health. I increased my intake of fatty fish like salmon, added more colorful vegetables and berries, and cut back on processed foods and sugar. I also made sure to stay well hydrated throughout the day. Third, I prioritized sleep in a way I never had before. Research shows that sleep is when your brain consolidates learning and clears out waste products. I set a consistent sleep schedule, avoided screens before bedtime, and made my bedroom as dark and quiet as possible. The combined effect of these changes was remarkable. Within a month, I noticed I had more energy throughout the day. My thinking felt clearer, and I was less likely to feel mentally fatigued after concentrating for long periods. These benefits extended well beyond driving. I found myself more engaged in conversations and better able to recall names and details. All these exercises and lifestyle changes were valuable, but they wouldn't mean much if I couldn't apply them to actual driving. So I developed a systematic practice routine on the road. I started with short drives during off-peak hours when there was less pressure. During these drives, I'd practice one specific skill at a time. For instance, I might focus an entire drive on scanning techniques, regularly checking mirrors, actively observing pedestrians, and maintaining awareness of vehicles in adjacent lanes. I created verbal cues to remind myself of good habits. When approaching an intersection, I'd say aloud, "Check left, check right, check left again." Before changing lanes, I'd verbalize, "Mirror, signal, blind spot, move." These verbal cues eventually became automatic mental checks. I also enlisted help. Once a week, I'd ask my daughter to ride with me and provide feedback on my driving. Having another set of eyes was invaluable. She noticed habits I wasn't aware of, like my tendency to follow too closely in heavy traffic. One particularly effective practice was driving in challenging but controlled conditions. I'd intentionally go out during light rain or at dusk, when visibility is reduced but not dangerous. These conditions forced me to be more alert and helped build my confidence for handling difficult situations. I even recorded some of my drives, using my smartphone mounted on the dashboard. Watching myself drive was eye-opening. I could see hesitations or missed opportunities that I wasn't aware of in the moment. This self-observation helped me identify specific areas that needed more work. By gradually increasing the complexity of my practice drives, adding busier roads, more challenging times of day, and eventually highway driving, I built both skills and confidence in a structured way. Each small success reinforced my belief that I could continue driving safely. As my license renewal test approached, I developed a specific strategy for test day itself. This wasn't just about the long-term improvements I'd made. It was about optimizing my performance for that specific hour when everything was on the line. The night before, I made sure to get a full 8 hours of sleep. No compromises there. I knew that being well-rested would make a significant difference in my cognitive performance. For breakfast, I chose foods that would provide sustained energy without a crash. Oatmeal with blueberries, a boiled egg, and green tea instead of coffee. The goal was stable blood sugar and alertness without jitters. I arrived at the DMV 45 minutes early, not just to handle paperwork, but to give myself time to center my thoughts. In my car, I did a 5-minute breathing exercise to calm my nerves. Deep breath in for 4 counts, hold for 2, out for 6. This reduced my anxiety and improved my focus. Before the examiner arrived, I adjusted my mirrors and seat with extra care, ensuring optimal visibility and comfort. I also did a quick mental rehearsal of the route, visualizing myself driving confidently and competently. During the test itself, I used a technique I call narrating the drive. In my head, I described what I was doing and why. Approaching a yellow light, it's not safe to stop quickly, proceeding through with caution. This kept me present and deliberate in my actions. I also maintained awareness of my body language. Research shows that adopting confident posture actually creates confident performance. I sat upright, kept a relaxed grip on the wheel, and maintained a calm facial expression even when I felt nervous inside. When the examiner told me I had not only passed but performed exceptionally well, I felt a wave of emotion I wasn't prepared for. It wasn't just relief, it was vindication. The months of dedicated practice had paid off. But more importantly, I knew that I was truly a safer driver now than I had been in years. The test result wasn't luck. It was the product of deliberate effort to improve my cognitive function and driving skills. Passing the test was a significant milestone, but I quickly realized it wasn't the end of the journey. Maintaining these improved cognitive skills requires ongoing effort. The brain, like any part of our body, follows the use it or lose it principle. I've developed a maintenance routine that keeps my driving skills sharp without requiring the same intensive time commitment as my pre-test training. Here's what it looks like. I continue with 15 minutes of brain training exercises 3 times a week, rotating through the different activities to keep all cognitive areas strong. I find that doing these exercises in the morning sets a positive tone for the day and keeps my mind sharp. I maintain my physical routine of daily walks and brain-healthy eating. This has become less about driving specifically and more about overall quality of life, but the cognitive benefits continue to support my driving skills. Every month, I challenge myself with one advanced driving practice, like navigating an unfamiliar area without GPS, driving in more challenging weather conditions, or practicing in heavy traffic. These occasional challenges prevent complacency and keep my skills from plateauing. I've also set up a system of regular self-assessment. Every 3 months, I use a checklist I developed to evaluate my own driving objectively. This includes things like, do I consistently check blind spots before changing lanes? And am I maintaining appropriate following distances? If I notice any areas slipping, I focus my practice there. Perhaps most importantly, I've adopted a mindset of continuous improvement. I no longer see age as an excuse for declining skills, but rather as a reason to be more intentional about maintaining them. And I've found that this mindset extends to other areas of my life as well. I'm more proactive about learning new things and challenging myself mentally. The unexpected benefit of all this has been a renewed sense of confidence that extends beyond driving. When you prove to yourself that you can improve in one area through dedicated effort, it opens up possibilities in others as well. Looking back on this journey, from that scary moment running a red light with my grandson to acing my driving test at 70, I'm struck by how much control we actually have over our cognitive aging. The narrative that our mental sharpness inevitably declines with age is simply not the whole truth. Yes, some changes are natural, but with the right approach, we can maintain and even improve the cognitive functions that matter most for activities like driving. The method I've shared today isn't just about passing a test. It's about maintaining independence, ensuring safety, and approaching aging with agency rather than resignation. The three-pronged approach of targeted cognitive exercises, physical wellness, and practical application can make a remarkable difference, not just in driving skills but in overall quality of life. I want to emphasize that this isn't about denying the realities of aging. It's about being proactive rather than passive. It's about recognizing when skills are beginning to slip and taking concrete steps to address those changes before they impact your safety or independence. If you're approaching a license renewal test, or if you've simply noticed that your driving isn't as sharp as it used to be, I encourage you to try this approach. Start small, perhaps with just one cognitive exercise daily and a short walk. Build from there. Be patient with yourself, but also be consistent. The improvements may be gradual, but they will come. For those of you caring for older parents or relatives, consider sharing these techniques. Often, the prospect of losing driving privileges is frightening for seniors, but having a proactive strategy can transform that fear into empowerment. Before I sign off, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Have you noticed changes in your driving as you've gotten older? Have you found other techniques that help maintain cognitive function? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this information valuable, please consider subscribing to Memory Masters for more content on maintaining cognitive function as we age. And if you know someone who might benefit from these techniques, perhaps a parent, relative, or friend, please share this video with them. Remember, when it comes to our cognitive health, we have more power than we might think. Age is just a number. It's what we do with our minds every day that truly determines our capabilities. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, keep those neural pathways firing and those wheels safely rolling. This is Richard from Memory Masters, signing off.